Alright, this is going to be my end of the year 2025 hand dryer video, but before I start this video, I want to talk about what happened to my old YouTube channel ZLG Hand Dryers towards the end of last year. In January 2025, I lost access to my old YouTube channel ZLG Hand Dryers main vids, and that's because the password broke when I was trying to sign back on. And my computer also broke towards the end of 2024. I had to wait over 2 months for it to be repaired. During that time, I published my first photo on the Hand Dryers of the Year Facebook group, and on that day I was surprised that my upload was accepted, because I tried to post a hand dryer photo back in May 2024, but it kept getting rejected. Possibly because I only just joined the Hand Dryers of the Year Facebook group. As of December 2025, this hand dryer combo is still there. Between August 2021 and May 2022, the Mitsubishi Jet Towel Smart Hand Dryer replaced another Air Force. Speaking of which, in July 2024, the Air Force hand dryer on the right was not working, but they did manage to fix it instead of replacing it with another Mitsubishi Jet Towel Smart. Now moving on to another hand dryer trio, which unfortunately I didn't film because one of the hand dryers was broken, is the Dyson Airblade trio at Gunwharf Quays Shopping Centre in Portsmouth. The Dyson Airblade Mark II ABO7 hand dryer is currently not working. It has been like that since March this year. The Dyson Airblade DB is still working, and the Dyson Airblade ABO1 is still going strong as well. It's also one of the nearest hand dryers to the entrance, and it's lasted for over 15 years in a high traffic washroom. There are also some other hand dryers that I didn't film, but I won't mention all of them as it will take too long. So first of all, I'm going to talk about the hand dryers that I didn't film when I went to Cardiff on holiday. There is a Dyson VHU02 and a Dyson VABO8 hand dryer combo in the main gents toilets at Cardiff Castle. In the building where the cafe is, there are 2 gents toilet cubicles upstairs, and they both have PHS Airstream Whisper hand dryers. When I said I didn't film these hand dryers, I almost filmed these particular ones. These are high traffic washrooms, so I know it might happen anyway. There was also another Dyson V hand dryer combo which I didn't film. It was in the main gents toilets by the entrance and restaurant at St Fagan's National Museum of Wales. The hand dryer in the middle is a Dyson VHU02, and the other 2 are Dyson VABO8s. But it was too busy to film these dryers. I did film some other hand dryers at St Fagan's National Museum of Wales. In the gents' toilets by the prefab houses, the hand dryers are air dry contours, which are basically rebranded Bobrick Elans. These hand dryers are rare, but they're terrible at drying my hands. I don't think it's quite as powerful as an Anda Series 2000 ST, even though they're not that great anyway. The disabled toilet was out of order. It may have had the same hand dryer, but I wasn't able to check it out. The gents' toilets located in the Oakdale Workmen's Institute at St Fagan's National Museum of Wales has a World Dryer Model A hand dryer. It was my best find at St Fagan's National Museum of Wales so far. I did have a video of this hand dryer, but I accidentally deleted it. The hand dryer in the ladies' toilets is a Hokwang HK2400, branded as Manrose. There are 2 other sets of toilets at St Fagan's National Museum of Wales, which I haven't been to. So now I'm going to talk about some other interesting hand dryer finds at Cardiff. The hand dryer at the Marriott Hotel is a Dyson Airblade AB01. I didn't know what hand dryer to expect here, but I was happy to find a Dyson Airblade AB01. It's a newer version as the icons are different to usual. The hand dryer in the ladies' toilets is also a Dyson Airblade AB01, but it has the older icons. The hand dryer at the coffee corner in Cardiff had something which I didn't expect at an independent coffee shop. They had an actual accelerator hand dryer. It's not a cheaper knockoff one by King Wee Quiet or Ike, but a real accelerator hand dryer. Which is why I was surprised when I saw this at an independent coffee shop. I was expecting something like an Ike hand dryer, or just paper towels. I didn't expect an accelerator hand dryer. At St David's shopping centre in Cardiff, there are 3 disabled toilet cubicles on the first floor. One of them has an Under Series 2000 branded as Warner Howard, which is quite unusual to see with that branding, but unfortunately this hand dryer wasn't working. The other 2 disabled toilets on the first floor both have Under Series 2000 STs. One of them is branded as Airstream 2000 SS, and the other one doesn't seem to have a branding. In the disabled toilet on the ground floor at St David's shopping centre, the hand dryer is a Dyson VHU02. The interior in this washroom looks newer, compared to the ones in the disabled toilets on the first floor. So moving on, most of the hand dryers at John Lewis in Cardiff are Dyson Airblade AB03s, but in the gents' toilets on the 3rd floor, one of the hand dryers is a Dyson Airblade 9KJ. I have seen one of these hand dryers before at Reading Station, but it was too busy to film. This particular Dyson Airblade 9KJ was not as powerful as I thought it was going to be. It was about as powerful as a Dyson VHU02. The Dyson Airblade AB03 was more powerful. Unlike this Dyson Airblade AB03, the one in the gents' toilets on the first floor was not working properly. I think it was because the sensors were faulty. I've seen a recent video and this hand dryer has been replaced with a Dyson VHU02. So now I'm going to talk about some interesting hand dryer finds this year. The Nest Coffee House on London Road in Southampton has an Initial Healthcare hand and face hand dryer. This was a totally unexpected hand dryer find as the Nest Coffee House moved units earlier this year. I think it's likely that this used to be a staff toilet before it opened up as the Nest Coffee House. Before the coffee shop moved a few units down, I can vaguely remember the one in the previous location, and it had a paper towel dispenser instead of a hand dryer. But I was happy to see this hand dryer in the current location, especially since it has an epic motor sound. With the next unexpected hand dryer find, even though it was a very rare and interesting hand dryer, it wasn't very pleasant to use at all as the air was far too hot. This GET PLC hand dryer at Cafe Parishan in Lyndhurst is one of the most interesting looking hand dryers but is awful in other ways. First of all, the air is far too hot and it burns my hands. And secondly, the motor isn't that pleasant either. The hand dryer has also got a couple of cracks on it, but I'm not sure if it's to do with the hand dryer getting too hot. I have seen one of these on Flickr about 8 or 9 years ago, and it had a warning sign next to it which says, "Hand dryer's blow is very hot. Please hold your hands at least 6 inches below the nozzle." I swear these things are dangerous. My most recent interesting hand dryer find is this Heatria Sadia no-touch hand dryer at Havant Station. I haven't seen one of these in quite a while, and I didn't expect to see one at a train station. But what I do know is that these hand dryers are very quiet. The disabled radar key toilet on platform 2 has a Hokwang HK2400 branded as Sector. I do believe that some southwestern railway stations use these hand dryers, but they mainly had the newer Sector logo. Some of those hand dryers have since been replaced with Air Forces. So moving on to another interesting but modern hand dryer find is the ATC Tiger Eco HEPA hand dryer at Bradbeer's in Salisbury. This ATC Tiger Eco HEPA hand dryer was installed between January and April 2025. This hand dryer replaced a Dryflow Slimforce, which had only been in service for about 1.5 years. But these and the toilets at Marks and Spencer's do get a lot of use, as there's not that many public toilets in Salisbury, and it's why they get a lot of use. The Dryflow Slimforce, which is a Kingwee Thin Dry KW1019, is not made for high traffic areas. The ATC Tiger Eco HEPA hand dryer is more suitable for high traffic environments. This year, I have discovered a few interesting hand dryers which have sadly been removed or replaced, and it unfortunately included a couple of hand dryers from the 1980s. There used to be a very rare wall dryer model RA hand dryer located at Angel Crescent Public Toilets in Bitton. It was a very interesting find as these are rare in the UK, but it's a shame that this particular one has now been removed. It was replaced with a Blue Dry Eco Dry during a refurbishment. But I did notice that this Blue Dry Eco Dry was slightly quieter than normal, possibly because it's turned down a little bit. These hand dryers can be so loud that it affects the phone mic by making it sound louder than it actually is. But the loudest Blue Dry Eco Dry hand dryer that I heard was at Boston Tea Party in Ringwood. The Blue Dry Eco Dry hand dryer is likely a cheap replacement. I don't know if this is Boston Tea Party's new standard hand dryer choice, but I do know that they mainly use Air Force hand dryers. The hand dryer in the disabled toilet is a Hokwang HK2400, which I believe used to be Boston Tea Party's standard hand dryer choice many years ago. The Blue Dry Eco Dry hand dryer in the gents' toilets likely replaced one of these, or they could have previously had an Air Force hand dryer, but I don't know. The first time I came here was back in July 2024, and both hand dryers were the same back then. So back to what I said about interesting hand dryers which have sadly been replaced. So earlier this year, there was a vintage Santon Aquadry hand dryer in the disabled radar key toilet at Romsey bus station. Sometime between March and November 2025, this vintage Santon Aquadry hand dryer was replaced with a new Lec. At least it was a decent hand dryer replacement. But it was still sad that the vintage Santon Aquadry hand dryer was replaced. It was working perfectly a few months prior to the replacement, and I think it's unlikely that the previous hand dryer actually broke down, and more likely replaced due to energy efficiency. So moving on, there was a rare blue accelerator hand dryer at the Phoenix pub in Romsey. But sometime between October 2021 and March 2025, the hand dryer was replaced with a Nike AnyDry. It's not a bad replacement, but it's still a shame that the rare blue accelerator hand dryer is gone. But at least it wasn't replaced with a Kingwee or Quariat accelerator knockoff, which is a good thing. So now I'm going to talk about some recent refurbishments. So this year, Abbey Gardens public toilets in Winchester was refurbished. Before the refurbishment, the previous hand dryers were Dyson Airblade DBs, and before then they were Dyson Airblade ABO1s. These public toilets weren't in the best condition before the refurbishment. Most of the time, I've noticed that both of these Dyson Airblade DBs weren't that clean. All of the taps were replaced, and a few other things were damaged. Since the refurbishment, these toilets look a lot nicer, and both hand dryers were replaced with Dry Flow Jet Force Juniors. The reliability of these hand dryers are questionable, because I've known at least one or two which has failed within the first couple of years, and I've also noticed with some of them that one or two of the blue lights have stopped working, but with these ones all the blue lights were working. So moving on, the toilets at Asda in Southampton have recently been refurbished. Before the toilets were refurbished, the hand dryers used to be Zinda GSQ 87s, but they have since been replaced with Dry Flow Turbo Force Junior Pluses, which I believe is Asda's current hand dryer choice. These hand dryers are quite powerful and they dry my hands well. They both also have warm air. The Zinda GSQ 87s were still quite powerful, but they had colder air. Before the Zinda GSQ 87s, there used to be accelerators back in 2013. The disabled radar key toilet also has the same thing, and so does the baby change unit. For some reason, the hand dryer in the baby change unit looks like it's been marked. I did film these hand dryers, but it was before I changed my ways of filming. What I'm basically saying is that I no longer film close up from the bottom of the hand dryer, because when I pull away towards the end of the video, it blurs out of focus. and that was the one thing that really annoyed me. I don't like it when my own video blurs out of focus. But sometimes it's the lighting that affects the camera focus, which is why I had problems filming the hand dryers at Bill's in Bath and Costa in Christchurch. But enough said, let's move on. So you know that I said that the Dyson Airblade Mark II ABO7 hand dryer was currently not working? Well, just before Christmas, I discovered that this hand dryer has been replaced with a brand new Dyson Airblade DB. I was very surprised to see one of these, as these were only launched back in November 2025. These hand dryers have different motors to the other Dyson Airblade DBs, which is similar to the HU02 or 9KJ hand dryers. When I saw on the website that they were going to relaunch the Dyson Airblade DB, I thought it was just a rumour, but obviously not. They've just relaunched a brand new version of the Dyson Airblade DB, and I didn't expect to find one so soon. It must have been recently installed.